The date was May 21st, 2004. I was at a bus stop across the street from my high school, University Senior High School, in the Brentwood area of the west side of Los Angeles. I didn't grow up in the west side of Los Angeles, but I was able to go to university because of a district opportunity transfer that was granted to me after spending my freshman and sophomore years at Locke High School in South Central LA. That bus would be one of 4 buses that I would have to take in my nearly 3-hour journey to get home in Watts. And one day, as I'm sitting at that bus stop, May 21st, 2004, my foster mother gives me a call and says, "Tremale, you got a letter from USC." And I'm thinking, wow, that's great, but it's a little bit late in the year to be getting college acceptance letters. So I ask her to open it up. So she opens it up, and after a few moments of just excruciating silence, I say, "Mom, what does it say?" And she blurts, "Baby, you got accepted. You got in, you got in." I hung up that phone, and for the next 3 hours, all I could think about was the different ways that I could dress myself up in cardinal and gold. So when I got home, I rushed through those doors. I went to my mom and I said, "Where's the letter? Can I see it? Can I see it? Can I see it?" She gives me the letter. I look at it. "Mom, it says UFC, United Friends of the Children." And she looks at me and says, "Oh, baby, I'm sorry. You know my eyesight is not the best these days, but I'm so proud of you." And I was proud. And I was thankful for the support. But the truth of the matter is that I was somewhat indifferent about how this process would be. That story is one of the earliest memories I have of United Friends of the Children, but it's also emblematic of the way that a lot of foster youth come to United Friends of the Children. Thankful for the support, but totally unaware of just how much the support, how far the support goes, and how transformational it can be. Especially in light of the unique question that every foster youth has to face and confront at some point in their life. It's a question that comes to every foster youth no matter how they entered foster care or in the manner in which they exist in foster care. It doesn't matter if we've been in 1 placement or 10 placements. It's a chilling question that comes up, and we all have to answer it. And that question is, what is so wrong with me that the people who brought me into this world didn't want me or care about me? It's a question that echoes in the deepest part of your being because it forces your mind to cultivate these life-limiting self-defense mechanisms to protect you against things that oftentimes you don't even have the cognitive ability to understand when it's happening. One of the first memories I have of experiencing this is when I was in the 3rd grade. I would go into class early before anyone was there, find a seat. In that classroom, there were two desks, or 2 persons to a desk. I would find one that no one was sitting at, and I would take another desk, put it on my left, take another desk, put it on my right, put another desk, put it behind me, just to close myself off. I was in the 3rd grade, and I can't tell you why I did it. I just felt this impulse to do it. But looking back at it now, I can connect the dots all the way back to an experience that happened when I was 6 months old. My natural mother had contacted my aunt and asked her if she would babysit me while she went to go purchase a baby bed. And my aunt agreed. But after being late nearly 2 hours, my aunt started to get worried. And after a week had passed, my aunt realized what had happened. My foster mother, my natural mother, had abandoned me, and she wasn't coming back. She had an ongoing problem with drugs. And my father died in a car accident before I was ever born. So that meant that my aunt all of a sudden found herself becoming a parent at a time where she never planned for it. And she kept me for 6 months, as long as she could, but she had to give me up. But a nurse at the hospital that I was getting service at heard that she was going to put me into foster care, and she said, no, that's not happening. I'm going to take this child. But 6 months later, that nurse gave up on me too. So by the time that I was 2 years old, I had switched 4 different parents, foster parents in my life. The age between birth and 2, the time that they say is so important to have contact with kids and skin and love. I was being tossed around. So imagine what it's like to be a young kid and have anger that you can't trace and have pain that you can't trace. But you're young and you don't understand it. And all the while, there's a questioning echoing in your head constantly. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? How would you process that? How do you deal with that as a kid? And a lot of times, and more often than not, that question gets answered by saying, what's wrong with me is that my life has no value. My life's worthless. You start to feel like there's nothing that's good that will stay with you in life. And so no matter what good happens, and even though I stayed in a good foster home and I got there from the age of 2 to 17 and they treated me with love, the bottom line is that you have this fleeting sense at all times that at some point it's all going to crumble. It's all going to be undone. So that's the backdrop that I came to United Friends of the Children with when I got that letter and going into college. And many people thought that my battles were behind me and I was on my way, but little did they know and little did I know the journey was just starting and I was in for the fight of my life. My first day of school at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., I went into my English class. We had to take a test. The professor wanted to understand what our writing capabilities were. And we took the test, and afterwards, the professor came up to me, and I thought, okay, maybe this is a good sign. She's going to compliment me on how good of a writer I am. And she pulls me aside and she looks at me and she says, Tremale, look, I'm just going to give it to you straight. If you stay in my class, the best you will do, and I mean the absolute best I foresee you doing, is scratching getting a C. You should consider some remedial courses. You should think about taking another course because I just don't think this is going to go very well for you. First day of college, that question echoing. How long is this going to last? How long before everything falls down and the world sees that I'm nothing more than someone who will be nothing? That's what plays in your head. So I limped through my freshman year, but sophomore year is where it really started to unravel. The courses didn't make sense, and class didn't make sense. And I was getting C's and D's in my architecture classes. And at the end of my sophomore year, my professor gave me a D in my class, in my architectural design class, and I actually questioned her. And what they did was they took every professor in the School of Architecture, and they reviewed all of my work for the entire semester. And do you know what their conclusion was? She was actually generous in giving you a D. She should have failed you. So at that point, I'm getting ready for summer break. And all I can feel is shame. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever experienced shame before, but shame is a unique emotion. Shame is something that rocks you at your core and really calls into question your dignity. And I don't know what people value the most, but I will say that if you tried to take anything away from me, dignity is the one thing I have to keep. And I often hear people say that when people give up, that it's somehow a lack of motivation or it's somehow a lack of trying. But sometimes giving up can be the last thing standing in the way between you preserving your dignity. And it makes you think about things a little different. You start to say, well, they want me to go to school, and school tells me I'm stupid. But I'm not stupid. School is stupid. I don't need school. I can quit and still keep the feeling that I'm going to not fall down. I don't ever have to face the music, but I can keep my dignity. And so I was going to drop out of school, not come back, take some time off. I was going to figure it out, but I just figured this wasn't for me. And I told my college counselor at UFC, Monica, she was my college, the person that I connected to the most, and I explained to her everything that was going on. And she said, give me some time. I'm going to come up with a plan. And ladies and gentlemen, she created this custom internship experience for me that fundamentally transformed my life. She reached out to real estate development firms across the city of LA. She reached out to architecture firms across the city of LA. And for the next 4 months in the summer of my sophomore year, I met with I interned with real estate development firms, and then they connected me with their architecture firms and their finance wings and their maintenance wings. And I got to experience exactly what my life would be like if I continued. And it did something to me, because when I came back the next year, I got an A in my architecture classes and I got a 3.8 GPA. And it continued. And I graduated from the School of Architecture on the dean's list. And one of the companies that gave me an internship hired me. And ever since then, I have been working for some of the top construction companies throughout the state of California. And throughout the city, you can see projects that I've worked on. And there's nothing more that makes me proud than to see that I can live my childhood dream every single day. These days, my greatest fear is forgetting all of that. It's forgetting where I came from, becoming numb and disconnected to the struggle. Because there are a lot of people, and I'm sure they mean very well, who will often come and tell me, you know, Tremale, I know you would be successful no matter what. You're a de facto success story. You would have made it no matter what happened to your life. And wow, it is very tempting to buy into the notion that my life transformation is somehow purely an exercise into my willing it into existence, it simply is not true. It took a village of all walks of people, from all sorts of different processes and places in their life, who decided to help me in ways that they could and with the time that they could. Like my IOP coordinator, Marissa Sanders, who made a decision to stay at her job until I graduated from college so that I would have consistency throughout one of the most difficult times in my life. Like my sister V, who gave her life up and put her life on hold to care for me when my foster mother couldn't, and help instill values in me that still drive me to this day. My foster mother, Ruth Ann Hobart, whose birthday is tomorrow, and who, unfortunately, I had to bury 1 month after I turned 23 years old in 2009. She gave me every ounce of love she had to see that I became something more than what I ever thought. And United Friends of the Children, for connecting me to the people who transformed my life, for helping me see something in me when I didn't see anything in myself, to everything that they do, to the late night calls that they took, to the emails that they wrote back to me, to the times that they met with me when I was in need. All of these people contributed to my life in the ways that they could, and together with a village, they helped me fundamentally transform my life. And I am forever thankful. And I'm thankful because all these experiences allow me to stand here today with scintillating optimism that together, you and I can make stories like mine the standard and not the exception. If we can continue to channel the ethos upon which this organization was founded by Nancy Daly nearly 39 years ago, and which says that we treat all children as our own children, we can create a better future for foster children. If we can look at the nearly 30,000 foster youth in LA County, not as a cause for charity, but rather helping them as members of our family when they need it the most, we can transform their lives. And we can imbue rare color into the mosaics of their life and help them discover the higher truth to that question that echoes in their head. And that is that all life is precious, no matter how it starts or how much tragedy is infused in between, because on the other side of tragedy, there is collateral beauty if you let your eyes see it. Right now, there's a young man who's in the 7th grade, and he's just joining United Friends of the Children's programs. He's shy. He doesn't talk much, doesn't have any hope in himself, but he's got counselors, and he goes to workshops once a month. He gets exposed to different things like a college mindset. He learns about school. He learns about opportunities. His mind gets expanded through working with United Friends of the Children, and he starts to get excited. He has trouble with school, but United Friends of the Children has tutoring service to help him sharpen his academic skills. He has a problem connecting with other people, but due to the social events that United Friends of the Children has and the common connection that they all share, he starts to feel comfortable. And he discovers that he has a passion, and United Friends of the Children helps him cultivate that passion. And he goes on to college, and he graduates, and he's having a successful, independent life. I would like to take a moment to step into that point in the future, 11 years from now. And he can't be here right now to say it, but I'm going to speak on his behalf. Thank you for taking a chance on me. You saved my life, and you helped me discover more about life than I ever knew. And I look forward to returning the favor and paying it forward. My greatest dream is for every foster youth across the country to be able to share that story. But until then, my sleeves will be rolled up and I will be going to work. And for anyone who wants to join me, I will see you on the other side of the new future that we create together. Thank you.